Hey guys, what's going on? And welcome to our review of Five Nights at Freddy's 3. So, this is probably going to end up being quite short, but we'll get into it anyway.
I mean, the series was short.
We're going to start with the game company / creator. So the game company, it's not a company, the game creator though is Scott Cawthon, who's made all the ones up to, I think he stopped at VR. I think, because then, well, Steelwell technically took over in VR, but I think he still helped with that. But then after that, he kind of distanced himself a little bit. But either way, he worked on the Core 4, I know that for a fact. So yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's 3, he was the one that made it. So he's made all the other FNAF games, like I said, up till VR, I think. And even then, he still has influence on other games. So, like, Scott Cawthon, there's not much to say about him, because he's that well known. So moving on to what is done well. I liked the style of it. I will say the whole cameras. I liked all the different cameras and how it's meant to be a spooky attraction. I think that's kind of interesting. I think the sound. We're gonna get into sound later, but I think the sound effects were pretty good in this game. I like all the different beeps, all the different when the night starts, when the night ends. I think those are pretty cool. So those are cool, I guess. And like I said, the aesthetic is pretty cool. This was the game that did introduce Springtrap technically, and I don't care about the lore or which game came first. And in terms of just the games, that's the first one that introduced Springtrap or Afton, whatever you want to say. And Afton as a character is one of the coolest characters in the series. Because obviously he's the one that, just casually murdered kids, so as you do. And it kind of adds, this sort of sinister undertone to the game. Because obviously there's, Scott could have just made a game all about, oh, they're alive, because why not? And they're just roaming around. But no, they're alive because he murdered 6 kids and stuffed them inside Freddy Fazbear suits. But this is a game where you're fighting against him specifically. And this game was born because there's this whole back and forth of the community, I guess. Because the first one came out and people were like, oh, there's not enough animatronics, so he made 2 where there was a bunch of animatronics. Then people were like, oh, there's too many animatronics, so he made 3 where there's only 1 animatronic that you're really dealing with. There is the Phantoms, and I'll get into them later. But you're really just dealing against him because he's the only one that can actually kill you. And then people were like, oh, FNAF 3 isn't scary enough, and so he made 4. And then there's this entire cycle of all that stuff. And that's kind of why he got trapped into the series almost, using his sort of paraphrasing words there. Yeah, so I would say it's interesting. I like that he was listening to the community. I will say that that's more about the creator than the game itself. But I think that was pretty cool as well. Not much really else to say about that. I do like the minigames that kind of introduced, because FNAF 2 introduced the minigames, but FNAF 3 kind of took it a step up in terms of how you got the good ending, I guess, because there is 2 different endings. I think that's the first one that have 2 different endings.
Correct.
So it did introduce that. So I guess there's that as well. But moving on to what could be improved. This game was not scary in the slightest. I even call him Spring Bob or Spring Boob, whichever you want to call him. He has a nickname just about unscary he is. I'm even looking at him now. He's not scary whatsoever. I guess maybe in real life he would be, but in terms of video game form, he's not. And his jump scare is kind of just hello.
It looks like he's just shuffling up to you, hey man.
He's like, hey, you got any games on your phone?
Actually jump on you.
Yeah, it's not scary at all. And you kind of know when he's there because the entire point of the game is to watch him on the cameras. And while I think, also another reason he made 3, and the mechanics of 3, he made it the way it is because in FNAF 2, you didn't care about the cameras at all. The first night, you probably perused around, let's be honest, we all did. But as soon as you had to realize that you had to worry about the puppet, you were way more concerned about the puppet than you were about, oh, let me check who's in this vent or whatever. Once you got to night 5, you kind of just assumed someone was in the vent, and you put your mask on the ready anyway. So that's why FNAF 3, Scott made it so that you had to look at the cameras. The cameras were the entire point of the game. And while I think that is a neat idea, I don't think it was executed very well because also, sometimes he just doesn't listen to the audio lore. And I don't know if that was just luck that we had. I don't know if it's just a mechanic that sometimes he's you know what? I mean, I guess it makes sense theoretically speaking because, he'd hear it enough time to be like, you know what? Every time I've gone over where I've heard this stupid child, there's no child there, gosh darn it, wanted to murder. But so obviously, realistically it makes sense, but this is a video game. So if you have a mechanic that's dependent on luck, I'm probably not going to like that mechanic too much. And I sure didn't, because we actually, I think, only did one video on FNAF 3, just to say we did FNAF 3.
Correct.
We didn't I don't know what night we got to. I think I want to say it was night 4 or 5, and then we stopped because I was just kind of bored with it. FNAF 3 is not one of my favorites in the series. It's one of my least favorites in the series, actually. I much rather play Security Breach over FNAF 3, if I'm being totally honest. So yeah, I wasn't really impressed with FNAF 3 in terms of the mechanics. The jump scares were not great, because again, he wasn't scary in the first place. So yeah, there's that. The phantoms were more so annoying than they were scary. I think the only one that truly scared me was Foxy, because he's kind of just sitting in the corner when you turn around. So he was kind of cool, I guess. But Balloon Boy was just annoying. Puppet was cool at first, but then he got annoying after that. Chica you rarely encounter in the first place. And I believe that's it.
Mango's just loud.
Mango's just loud and annoying.
Chica, you barely even see her.
Chica's so bad, she's literally titled the Watermelon in the FNAF World game. Because Scott is making fun of himself almost because she looks like a watermelon. So like I said, the designs are cool, but they're not scary. And my biggest problem with FNAF 3 is that it wasn't scary, the mechanics sucked, and I just wasn't enjoying myself when I played the game. There's really not much to say about that. But moving on to any problems or glitches. When it first came out, I think there was a couple, but Scott was really good about patting down the glitches, so I don't think there was any glitches as of the full game's release. So I don't think so. I could be wrong, but I don't think there is. So, but moving on to controls. Now, just like the first two games, it's really just your mouse. So you just use your mouse to go around. Now on console it's different, and I will say that console is probably the worst way to play these games. Up to Security Breach. Security Breach was fine. But for these main 4, even 5 games, I think you probably want to stick to PC if you have that available to you. Because playing on console, like we tried to do 420 on console, that was a nightmare.
Practically impossible.
Practically impossible, I would say even. So yeah, it's probably not the best way to play this game. I think we did play this on console, so we probably didn't get the full experience, but even then, I wasn't really enjoying it anyway, so I didn't really much care. Because I bought these FNAF games multiple times. I bought FNAF 1 like 4 different times. I bought FNAF 2 7 different times, 'cause that's one of my favorites in the series. And I bought FNAF 3 once, and that was on computer back in the day. So, yeah, I didn't enjoy this one as much. But yeah, in terms of actual, like, controls, it's pretty simple. Especially on PC, it's very simple. It's just your mouse and just clicking around and stuff. On console, I want to say it's like 4 different buttons, but you'll figure it out. They're very simple controls. Moving on to music/sound. So the sound effects, like I mentioned before, is pretty good. I will say the sound effects are pretty good in terms of like the night ending, the night starting, like that. The night starting sound effect is actually very kind of used in media today, even. So that's pretty good. I don't recall very much music. I guess there's the good ending music and the bad ending music, which are pretty cool music tracks, because the bad ending music is kind of like normal, I think, and then the good ending music is kind of somber and sad, because technically speaking, you set them free, I guess. I still don't understand the whole lore of that good ending thing there, but yeah, so I will say the music that is there, it's good. It's very minimal, but it is there. I think the menu's music is decent. I will say I think FNAF 4 is the best menu music in terms of the core 4. I don't know. FNAF 2 is pretty good too. But either way, FNAF 3 is definitely not one of them. So, but it's decent for the game itself, I guess. Moving on to story and characters. So you have the character. Who do you play as in this one? Is it same guy? I don't remember who you play as, but either way, you have Phone Dude, not to be confused with Phone Guy. Phone Guy is in this game as well, but he appears sometimes after Phone Dude, or Phone Bro, whatever his actual name is that the community gave him.
Oh, wait a minute. I think people think that the character you play as in this is Michael Afton, right? It's like him going back to face
I suppose, I don't know.
or something.
Either way, I don't care about the lore, but whoever you play as, I do know that Phone Dude and Phone Guy are in it, which is played by Scott Carlton, of course. They're pretty funny. Phone Dude's pretty funny. Phone Dude's more funny, because it's more like, yo, bro.
Dude.
So I know you're about to die and everything. Well, he doesn't say that. You know what I mean.
These cool things we found here, man.
But either way, he's super funny. Phone Guy's normal, just like he was in the other ones. And then you have the characters, you have the cast, like the enemies, so you have Springtrap, aka William Afton. You have the Phantoms, Phantom Balloon Boy, Phantom Chica, Phantom Foxy, Phantom Mangle, Phantom Chica, I don't know if I said that one. There's no Phantom Bonnie, surprisingly.
Phantom Freddy.
Phantom Freddy, that's right. He kind of just tried to. He was so irrelevant, I forgot to talk about him.
Seriously, he's just kind of like.
I think he only attacks you if you pull up the camera. I forgot what his.
You have to pull up the cameras and you'll be fine.
Oh, so it's the opposite of what I said. So you have to leave the camera on.
Yeah, it goes through like the little window. You have to pull up the camera because if you look at him for too long, you jump.
Either way, he's so irrelevant that I forgot about him. So either way, but yeah, you have that. You have Phantom Freddy as well. So basically, the Phantoms are more, like I said earlier, they're more annoying than they are scary. And Spring Bob, Spring Boob, whatever you want to call him, is, I don't know, he's not scary. His design's cool, but he's not scary. If you had made him like more nightmarish, I guess, kind of like 4's models, and then also had a better jump scare, I think it would have been scary. But he was also annoying to an extent too, just because he didn't follow the audio lore, and that was kind of annoying. So yeah, that's your cast of characters. Pretty minute, especially compared to FNAF 2, and because you have to remember, this is in between FNAF 2, one of the best games in the series to me, and FNAF 4, out of the core 6, the best in the series to me. So it's in between those two. So I had high standards for this. Obviously, we didn't know FNAF 4 existed when this first came out, but still, once you look at it now, it's in between those two very great games. So I'm going to hold it to high standards, and I don't think this was, I think it fell kind of flat, especially with the characters. Moving on to replayability. This one has like one of the least replayabilities, if I recall, because FNAF 2 had a lot, because you could, once you beat the core game, you had all these different custom modes you could do, and once you were done with those, you were done, so it's not like unlimited like Minecraft is. Yeah. But this game just had Nightmare mode, I'm pretty sure. It did not have a custom night, as far as I'm aware.
It does not have a custom night. It doesn't even have a night 7.
It doesn't have a night 7. It was just Nightmare mode, which is like just him on a higher tick, I guess.
Him on steroids.
Basically, it's him not caring about audio lores whatsoever. So
you have a couple more like things. You have fast nights, I mean, the nights themselves are only 50-something seconds long.
It is the shortest game, yeah.
30.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's also cheats, and I feel like using cheats at that point is not worth it, because if you have to cheat the game in order to find fun in it, then that's kind of stupid. So yeah, I would say that it's a very short. So I think this is. I'm gonna say linear, because you play the game and you're done with it. You never touch it again unless you were revisiting for a certain purpose. Kind of like what Mark did when he did like his FNAF revisiting series. Because once you play this game all the way, once you beat Nightmare mode, there's nothing left. You don't do anything.
Absolutely nothing.
You've seen everything you need to see. It's linear. So I'm not. FNAF 2, I sort of gave the middle category at the very end, just because. Technically speaking, once you beat Night 6, you had all of those custom Nights modes. And there's a lot. There's like, I want to say 10 different modes, I think, if not 11 or 12. And then, of course, there's Golden Freddy, which is like, it's going to take you a while to beat that anyway. So, yeah, there's that. This one is just Nightmare mode. There's not like a 520 mode. There's not like whatever mode it would have been. So, kind of disappointing in that sense. And I do know that Scott did rush this one. He admitted to, once he did that interview with Dawko, he admitted to rushing FNAF 3 just a little bit, because he was trying to make people happy, which I admire the hustle, but I think he should have been more concerned about making a better game, which he did with FNAF 4, so I'm not going to cut him too much, I'm not going to give him too much of a hard time. But with this game specifically, I feel like the rushed aspect is definitely visible.
You could tell.
So replayability, very linear. Once you play it, you're kind of done. So moving on to personal takes. Yeah, like I said earlier, I'm just going to sort of repeat myself. This game wasn't fun to me. I don't like playing. It wasn't making me angry. I guess it sort of was when he wasn't listening, but I just wasn't having fun playing it. And I don't like playing. Games are meant to be fun. And if I don't find the game fun, I don't return to it. For example, we just talked about this off camera, actually. We're not probably going to return to Avengers ever again because that game wasn't fun to me. It was kind of a slog to get through. And you guys didn't seem to care about it either, so I'm just like, well, I guess we're just going to cut it off. So games like that, I don't like playing again, or like continuing to play it just for the sake of playing it, because at that point I'm not enjoying myself, and then the mood of the video's off, and then people don't get enjoyment out of it. So it's kind of this whole cycle of like, well, oh, if I'm not enjoying it, then I'm kind of moody, I'm kind of annoyed with it, and then you guys aren't getting enjoyment out of it, so it's this whole vicious cycle. And FNAF 3 did that for me. Luckily FNAF 4 like kind of revived the series for me, but FNAF 3's definitely brought it down especially after the super success. I love FNAF 2. It's one of my favorite games to this day. I think it beats out FNAF 1, Pizzeria Simulator, VR even. I think it beats out those. So, like, to have this come after it, it was kind of disappointing. And obviously, like I said, I'm going to go off the perspective that FNAF 4 doesn't exist yet, because when this first came out, it didn't. So even without FNAF 4, FNAF 2 was so good that I had so much expectations for this that it kind of fell flat. But we'll move on to Zachary.
Yeah, this game, I feel like, just kind of fell flat on itself. Especially, it was, I feel like when Scott was making this as well, he was just kind of at the point where, like, he started off with a pretty good bang, right? You know, FNAF 1, one of the biggest games of all time. Then he kind of got it a bit better with FNAF 2, I think. And then he kind of had his dip. Most people will have a dip when they're creating this, you know, and that's kind of just what FNAF 3 is. But then he picked it back up. So, but at this point, FNAF 3 was just, like you said, it just wasn't really that fun to me. Like, I didn't have that much of a problem. I never got angry at it, but it was more so just a slog. The one thing I will say about this game that I did like, though, was the good ending, like, story. I think just doing the mini games, being able to get that, and doing all that, you know, it was really cool, you know, and it was also just funny because people used to think that this was going to be the last game in the series. That's pretty funny. But other than that, you know, it's pretty good. It was pretty bad. That's all I can really say.
One thing I forgot to mention too is the farther you get in the nights, the more the stupid errors you have.
Oh my God,
and when you do
errors.
nightmare mode, it's every time you use an audio lure, the audio device fails. That was annoying. Not that we did nightmare mode in the series, because I didn't feel like getting to that point. But when I first played this game, because I have 100% of this game. Back when I used to play, back when FNAF 3 kind of first came out, because my friend introduced me to FNAF 2, I played that, then I went back to FNAF 1, because I'm like, well, I should go do that. And then FNAF 3 came out like 2 weeks later, I played that, and I got to nightmare mode, and it was so annoying. Just dealing with like, oh, well, I guess I use an audio lure, he doesn't listen to it, and so all I got out of it was an error. And so, like, that was the most frustrating part of this game,
It's practically like every other one, it just breaks, and you have to wait 15 minutes for it to reload, and then go back, and then he's moved 5 rooms.
And then sometimes when you would clear the audio device, the camera would fail while you're trying to fix that. It's like, well, I guess I should have rebooted all, but they wouldn't have known either way. But we'll move on as well. I just wanted to add that part in. I completely forgot about the system restart thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, this game, like, once you first play it, you would think that it's definitely most simpler than the others, but as you get into the other nights, you do get, it kind of gets, like, tedious, it gets annoying, like, after, Springtrap doesn't listen to you whatsoever to the audio cues, and, I mean, this is just my personal thoughts, but I do remember a story I did have one play when I remember playing FNAF 3 and I was on nightmare mode. I was doing pretty good, but it definitely was not easy, I can say. I think I was on 5 a.m. and I was basically in the staring contest with Springtrap when he's in the little corner there on the left. And the thing that I honestly didn't beat it, because the thing that killed me was stupid, because I didn't take my eyes off Springtrap, and I even had to ignore the error things. But the thing that killed me was Phantom Freddy, because I was looking at him even though I wasn't. Like, I get his mechanic, like, if you look at him for too long, then he kills you, but I wasn't even looking directly at him. I think what caused him to do that was, like, the corner of my eye, like, he was in that, and that kind of, I think that's what it triggered it.
The reason you died is because you weren't looking at the camera. You had to look at the camera when he's there.
Yeah.
But what's your personal take? This isn't story time. What's your personal take?
I know, but honestly, I do not. I kind of don't like it. It could have been better, to be honest, so yeah.
Alright, moving on to, is it worth it? So, It's $8, and these games don't on PC anyway. I can't speak for console, but these games don't typically go on sale. Even during some winter sales or like some Christmas sales, they don't typically go on sale. So off basis, you're probably gonna have to pay dollars for it. To me, I would say if you're a hardcore fan and FNAF 3 is the last thing you need in your catalog, then sure, maybe it is worth it to you. I'm going to say a big fat no, though, to me. I will probably never be buying this game ever again because it wasn't fun, and I'll give Scott money in other various ways by buying FNAF 2 for the 15th time or buying FNAF VR or whatever. So he's still getting, I'm not saying it's his fault 100%, but what I'm saying is that I won't be buying this game again. It wasn't fun. I didn't enjoy playing it. It's kind of boring to play as well. So to me, it's not, but like I said, if you're a really true hardcore fan and you want to have every game in your library, then by all means, get it if you need it. But in terms of actual replay value, in terms of everything we've said before this, I would say it's not worth it to me. Moving on to the final rating, which is out of 10 if you're new to these. I'm not even doing this for the memes because I'm trying to calculate based on, because we gave Lovers in Danger Space Time a 5, and I would go back to that game and play it again. I don't like, it wasn't such a bad game that I want to even go back to it, or I'd be bored playing it again. So again, not doing this for the memes, I'm gonna give it a 3. I don't enjoy this game at all, and I won't be returning back to it. Even if we do like a 10-year anniversary, we do like a collage of all the games, this one won't be featured in that just because I find it so boring. The audio lore mechanic is dumb. Isabel during her story also highlighted something, and that this game relies heavily on luck. Heavily on luck. FNAF 2 had some luck too, but it wasn't so much to the point where your death was reliant on luck, right? Whereas FNAF 1, there was a couple luck factors, like Foxy sometimes had a little bit of luck to him, but FNAF 2 was mostly skill. If you failed, it was your fault. The only time that it really wasn't your fault is if, unfortunately, they all decided to, all the withered ones came into the exact same time and Puppet kills you because you didn't have time. That's the only instance sort of where it was luck based. FNAF 4 is also skill based. FNAF 4, if you lose, it's your fault. Especially if you didn't listen to the door properly. FNAF 5, I don't really like either, so I'm not really going to talk about that. FNAF 6, though, FNAF 6 has a bit more luck than the other ones, but still, that's also skill. This one is heavily reliant on luck. Once Springtrap is peeking around the corner, you got two options. First option, sit there and pray to whatever god you believe in that the ventilation doesn't go off, or that, I guess in Isabel's case, or that Freddy doesn't come in. So you're relying on two factors there. Or you hope that he's not agile enough that you can switch over the camera real quick and make him go somewhere else. Those are your only options. Because if you pull up the ventilation system, if you pull up that thing, you're done. If he is agile enough and you go over the camera, you're gonna die. You might die anyway. So this game is heavily reliant on luck, and I don't appreciate that in a FNAF skill horror game. And remember, this is a horror game. This is why I'm giving it a 3. This is not scary in the slightest. A baby could play this game and it won't be scared. So when you have horror as your first tag of the game, I have to rate it critically based on the horror aspect, and this is not scary at all. The scariest thing about it is how boring it is to me. So again, not doing this for the memes. I was even considering a 2, but I feel like that's a little harsh because there is a couple things I like about it. I'm giving it a 3. I don't like this game at all. You guys can, of course, disagree, but I don't like this game at all. It's a horror game, and it wasn't scary whatsoever. The mechanics weren't executed properly. Scott himself even said this was rushed. So, yeah. The only thing keeping above for me is the sound effects, the good ending, the fact that there's different endings, I guess, and a couple of the sound effects were cool. That was really... Oh, and Phone Dude. Phone Dude was cool. So there's only a couple things keeping it afloat. That's why I'm giving it a 3. So, but we'll move on to Zachary.
Yeah, I feel like this game just kind of failed at what it was meant to do because, like you said, the whole point of a horror game is to be scared. Like, the whole point of playing a horror game is to be scared, right? And when you're not scared, what's the point, right? Because this game isn't scary. Maybe if you've never played a horror game before and you're 2, then maybe it'd be a little bit, but after the first 5 minutes, you're instantly not scared anymore. It really just fails at that, you know, and which sucks because, you know, it's just kind of that dent in the FNAF series, you know. so you know, it's especially being in between two really good games in the series, but you know, like you said, you gotta be critical about a horror game, how scary a game is when its first tag is literally horror. But like you said, the sound effects were cool. Bone Dude himself raised the whole thing by a point in and of itself. So, you know, 3, you know, obviously not for the memes, but I mean, that is pretty convenient, I will say. So
this is probably the only time it's gonna happen, because FNAF 4 is definitely not getting a 4.
No.
FNAF 5 might get a 5. Well, that might be the only time it happens again. But then it probably won't happen again after that. So like, yeah,
6 is better.
6 is better than FNAF 5. So
yeah, so that's where it stands. FNAF 3 gets a 3 out of 10.
Yeah, we'll get to this one in a second, but I like to think of FNAF 3 as the middle child, right? You have really good success in the first one.
Wow.
Yeah, you have really good, decent success in the next one, and then you get the middle child that nobody really cares about, that nobody remembers, and then you return back to your roots. You're like, oh, we gotta have one last kid, and then like, because remember, the FNAF 4 was meant to be the final chapter. You have your last kid, and you're just like, you know what? That's a good one right there.
No, that's the lesser middle child. The better middle child, though. The better middle child. That's the really, really good one.
No. But anyway, yeah. So I was just highlighting the fact that it just wasn't fun. But yeah, Isabel, Isabel's played the game, but she wasn't on the series, obviously, so she can still speak on it. But what do you think?
Yeah, once I do have some experience, but that story was like, I don't even know how many years ago, but I am gonna agree with a 3. I was thinking like for a 3, but I definitely think that it kind of deserves a 3.
Yeah, based on the fact that it's horror, because also I believe, I'd have to check this, but I'm pretty sure DDLC, for example, it was psychological horror, and then a couple tags after that. That was scarier than this game. I mean, it's passing off itself as a dating sim. So when a dating sim is scarier than a FNAF game, we have an issue.
Houston, we got a problem.
And the reason the reason I'm harping on the horror aspect so much is because actually, this was a while ago. I watched this dude introduce his parents to the FNAF series, and they had the only games they had ever played in their entire life, because they were like 60. The only games they've ever played in their life was something on the Atari and something that his mom had played, something on the Game Boy. Whatever. Old style games. And he wanted to first introduce them to the FNAF series. So he started with FNAF 3. Not sure what the purpose of starting with FNAF 3 was. Maybe he was kind of going on the same idea that we are. And guess what? There were 60. And when Springtrap, quote unquote, jump scared them, they're like, oh, who's that guy? It's like, you wouldn't be saying that when you play FNAF 4, because you'll be flying out of your chair based on how scary that one is. So when someone's first reaction to your scary animatronic is, oh, who's that guy? We have an issue. So yeah, that's why I'm rating it so critically. Like I said, these reviews are meant to act as honest feedback to you guys, because I'm tired of going to IGN seeing, oh, it's a 10 out of 10. It's got a little something for everyone. Like, that's literally a meme because about stupid things. So yeah, so I'm gonna solidify as a 3. Again, you guys are welcome to disagree, and you can debate us in the comments. Yeah, I think we're gonna leave it here. So, thank you guys for watching the reviews. We have a custom end card. You'll be able to see the playlist of our different reviews in the end card there. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.